Welcome to the Effective Engineering Manager podcast.
Hello, Adam. It's your time today. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, Slava. Today, I'd like to continue our team building series and talk about an interesting concept which we call the Kudos program.
This sounds very interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about it and why is it important?
Sure thing. So the Kudos program is something that came out of an idea and trial and error of trying to find ways to ensure consistent, regular recognition for team members for achievements throughout the year. Oftentimes, the default is just to wait until the end of the year during performance review time to, accumulate everything the team or the individual has done and, list it out in a performance review that only the person sees, right? And doesn't really get celebrated in the moment. And it's hard to even remember. So started to say, how do we do more regular incremental, recognition of these things? And so the Kudos program was born. And it's a way to ensure that managers have this structure in place, known to the team, that this is an opportunity to get recognized, and what the requirements essentially are for it. So here's the kind of how the program should work. You can pick the period. It can be semi-annual, so half every 6 months. It can be every quarter. I think quarter is usually good, and it should sort of tie in with when your company normally does stuff. So if you have like quarterly earnings meetings and talk about achievements, or if you have all hands meetings and stuff like that are in the company, this is a good time to tie it to those around that time, because you're celebrating achievements, and usually it's a good opportunity. You may already have prepared some material and kind of be thinking about it. Optionally, you can also do it at end of project milestones. Whatever is most suited to your team. The thing is to make sure it's known in something that the team can know when it's going to happen, right? So it's periodic. It's not just haphazard, and it's whenever you get around to it. That should not be the case. And what the thing is, you're going to identify during that period an individual or two or three, it depends on how large the team is, who stood out during that period. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the person or people were the highest performers. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were the Einsteins of the team. Doesn't necessarily mean they did anything extraordinary. It's just noticing something that they did or participated in that made an impact, and that was important, and something that you as a manager recognized made the team better in some way, or delivered something that was critical. It could be something as big as a project deliverable that somebody was responsible for. It could be a presentation that someone gave, or it can even be something that someone wrote to help the team with their daily activities. Something in that vein. So it can be anything in that regard. And I think it's clear, when you define this with the team, to let them know that it can be anything. The other thing is you want to ensure that you rotate this, right? You may even want to have a rule that says someone can't win it back to back. Or maybe even within the same year. And, that the goal is to recognize, look, everybody on the team contributes in some way throughout the course of the year. And we're going to find times every year to recognize those individuals. And so people feel motivated. That's something that, hey, this will be a way that I can get recognized. Now, what is the recognition? So once you've identified who the winners are for that period, you provide a monetary bonus or incentive. So it can be a gift card, it can be a gift, it can be something like maybe a half day off free, or whatever's aligned with your company's guidelines for stuff like that. Certainly gift cards, or treating someone to a lunch or something that they could blue sheet or something like that is certainly I think reasonable. A lot of times if you have offshore teams, it's hard to, buy them stuff. And so you can tell them, hey, go treat yourself to a dinner and just, blue shit it or something like that. It can be something in that regard. And you want to hold a ceremony with the team. It can be during your regular stand-up, or it can just be, a quick 10, 15 minutes. Get the team together one day of the week and just say, hey, guys, we're just want to let you know, the winners for the Kudos program this quarter were, so-and-so and so-and-so. And here's what they did, and we really appreciate what they've done, and, great job for everybody on the team. And then follow that up with an email as well, so that if you're not their direct manager, that their manager is informed, and maybe even the management chain, who your boss, because that level of visibility is important. And it does two things. One, as a manager, it ensures that your manager, your boss, is aware that you are doing your job as a manager to recognize and motivate your team, and it allows your directs to also have visibility where they may not necessarily have on a regular basis, especially in a large organization. So that's this is a little bit of very little structure around it. It's very fluid to adapt to your team and organization, but it's important because without it, we as managers will often forget to recognize individuals. We may do it in passing. We may say, "Hey, great job," but maybe we don't do that in front of the whole team. Maybe we just do it in an email, or maybe we just, an attaboy pat on the back. And those are good, but the impact might be slightly muted if others are not visible to that. And also, it helps the confidence and motivation of the individual team member. The rest of their team gets to see their recognition in areas maybe they're not even aware they're working on. So a little bit about it. I think it's a great thing. It works well. People get excited about it. It's adaptable to remote teams, different time zones and stuff like that. You can certainly do that. So a little bit about it. What do you think of such a program, Slava?
So I think it's a great program, and to me personally, it's good because it encourages me as a manager to be on top of watching for great things the team does, right? We get used to good team performance, right? And it all gets bogged down in the daily activities. And it seems that it's a norm, but in fact, engaged teams, motivated teams need continuous work from us managers. And I think this program, which is a regular event, which a team anticipates and knows that they're going to be recognition for everyone for the good things they're doing. It's really great, and I think one of the things that we can do to make it really stick is to set up quarterly events on our own calendar as managers, right? Not like for the whole team, but for ourselves as a sort of a broad reminder, saying, hey, it's a quarterly Kudos time. Spend a couple of hours, preparing the communications and sending to the team, and basically work on it, right? This way, we won't drop it if we forget. These are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point, to make sure it's on the calendar. I know I've certainly slipped a couple of times. Things get busy, and it's like, oh my gosh, we just completed second quarter, and I completely forgot to do that. So I think absolutely start the year, put it on the calendar. It's there, and like you said, the team will look towards that. They'll look for that. I've actually had team members say, "Hey, are we going to have our Kudos program?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. I completely forgot to put that on the calendar. Let me do it." So certainly, I think that's a great point for sure.
So, and I have a question. So about, I really like the idea of monetary compensations or any sort of a tangible input from this program to the individual, not just words, right? And you mentioned gift cards. What is your experience? What is the reasonable amount for a gift card for the Kudos program?
Actually, that's another great question we didn't cover. First of all, I think it's something that you want to discuss with your boss first. Make sure they're on board with it. Make sure there's budget for it. We're not talking about thousands here. I think it's probably somewhere $25, $50. For each individual each time. But what you can do is you can have, and actually done this a couple of times, where there was clearly an individual who stood out far and beyond. I mean, they just did something outstanding. And you didn't want that person to just consume everything. So we created what's called like a super kudos, which is, maybe that can be more on the lines of $100 or equivalent, or actually we gave this person a smart home device, like a Google Home Mini or something, because there are times where you do really want to recognize someone for superior performance, right? And I use that carefully, but you want to say, hey, this person really went out of their way and they just nailed it. And we're going to recognize that, but we're not going to that doesn't take away from the quota for the rest of the team. So to answer your question, I think, somewhere in the range of $25 to $50 in value, can be restaurant gift cards, Amazon gift cards, or something of the equivalent. And then every now and then maybe have something that is a little bit more high in value, $100 or so. And the thing is, I don't think it really matters how much it is, because the fact that there is something tactile and tangible associated with it will be a huge positive for any team member that gets it. They don't care so much how much it is. I mean, their compensation, they're not counting on that for their compensation, but it is something that they can go home and say, hey, man, my boss just gave me a $50 gift card today. Let's go celebrate. It goes such a long way, and it really, like, that confidence factor is important. So,
and Tia, I think you just gave me a great idea. Okay, I'm evaluating myself on great ideas, because my ideas are always great. So seriously, what we can also do, which I haven't done yet, but I think it should be done and can be done and should be done, is maybe writing a card or a note to the individual saying, hey, kudos to this great job on XYZ, and thanks a lot, your boss. Right? I think they would certainly appreciate that too, and it costs like nothing, $3 of a card.
Yeah. Oh, and people will keep those. Yeah. I mean, that actually reminded me. That's another good point. I think gift cards, cards are great. One thing you want to try to avoid is having like a wall of fame. You don't want this to be something that you're keeping. I mean, you can keep track of it personally so that people, you're not repeating and stuff. But don't put it on a wall and say so and so won kudos, and then because then people. The people focus more on that than the recognition, and being kind of a little bit more spurious and informal. You don't want people competing. You really want it to be organic.
Yeah, good stuff. And I especially like your point that Kudos program is not the, yearly performance review program, right? It's just a program for the manager to keep an eye on the guys doing good things and recognizing them regularly and spreading it across the team, right? Because a team which is engaged and productive, right? There's always good performance to mention, certainly on a quarterly basis. It doesn't have to be, to me personally, one individual per quarter, right? If it's a sizable team, it can be 2 or even 3 at a shot. But I think everyone should know that a manager knows that they're doing well, and it will be thanked and appreciated.
Exactly. And I think one last point on just playing devil's advocate here, people might say, well, okay, if I do this, then I'm just going to have people running to my office saying, how come I didn't win it? How come so-and-so won it when I did this and that? And then the question is, okay, how do you combat that? I'll have a couple thoughts out, and then I'd like to hear what you think about it. Because I don't think it's an easy one. I think it really depends on how you structure those kudos meetings, right? You want to keep it light. You want to keep it and ensure that it does recognize things that the team would certainly agree was good. And you want to also mix in where you have folks on the team that may be quieter, less recognized, or maybe not get very high profile tasks to work on, but you want to recognize them. And I think if you mix those in, I think the message to the team will be that, look, everything everyone does is important. And people, someone says, okay, I know I was great, but so-and-so really never did a great job and, does certainly deserve something. I think that mix is good. I think when when you focus purely on the most visible achievements, that's where I think things start to get tricky, because then people will say, just because I didn't work on something visible, doesn't mean that I shouldn't get it. So if you as a manager avoid focusing on just the things that were the most visible, people will certainly, I think, appreciate that program a bit more. I don't know what your thoughts on that, how you would handle something like that.
I think it's a very good point, because we don't want it to turn it into a competition, right? And if I had to do it, I think there's a pretty stable framework which works really well for this sort of things, for introduction of new things into the process. Is what if I were doing it, and I'm excited now, and I think I should do it too, is to talk about it during one-on-ones, right? Just say, hey, you know what, I'm going to start this program where I'm going to be watching for great things which are happening with the team, and picking 1 to 2 to 3 individuals per quarter, and sending them unofficial kudos messages involving the whole team and our boss. And I would say it's not about the competition, it's about me carefully watching for things that you guys are doing well, and appreciating them, and finding an opportunity to say thank you. It's about me and the company being thankful for what you're doing, not competition. And I will make sure that all of you will be mentioned, because all of you are doing a great job, and it's just a matter of spreading it in time. I think this way it will calm this desire to compete, or become better at it, because they'll know that it's not about how many kudos they're going to get, but rather that for the manager to be fully aware that the team is doing well, what they're doing well, and being explicit and open, and thanking the team.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, and it totally makes sense.
Well, cool. So this sounds like a great tool for keeping the team engaged and appreciated. So can you give us, our listeners, a checklist that they can start using right away?
Sure thing. So the Kudos program, broken down in the following 4 key bullets. Number 1, define the program, the cycle, and make it known to the team. Make it known that it's going to happen. Make it known when it is. Define what will be recognized, and ensure everyone gets an opportunity through the course of a year, for example. At the end of each period, hold a short team gathering to celebrate the winners. It can be a lighthearted event, nothing too formal, just to celebrate and acknowledge. And then 4th, and I think this is probably one of the most important, is make sure that you follow up with an email to a slightly larger distribution that includes management chain above you, about who was recognized during this period, so that they're aware. But also, make sure you pre-wire your boss and anybody you're sending to, ahead of time, that you've done this, you're starting this program, you're doing it, and so that they understand the context as well, and it doesn't become questionable, right? Because that could happen. So definitely keeping your boss in the loop is just as important as informing the team of this.
Thank you, Adam. This is good stuff.
Thank you, Slava. As always, more good stuff is certainly on its way, so stay tuned.